Looking at the map, Uzbekistan is entirely double landlocked, but it controls the demographic center of gravity in Central Asia. Squeezed into an area about the size of Spain, it holds 32 million people, nearly half the total population of the entire region. The physical pressure of that population is matched by massive wealth, underground. The country sits on over 1,800 mapped mineral reserves, and it operates Merentau, one of the largest open-pit gold mines on Earth. Above ground, the economy has historically relied heavily on agriculture. For decades, state-directed farming made the country a top global exporter of cotton. On paper, this combination of demographic weight and raw material resources gives the country the capacity to anchor the entire regional economy. For a long time, the country's macroeconomic data looked like a success story. Following the 1991 Soviet collapse, Uzbekistan experienced the smallest economic contraction among all its regional peers. This chart tracks nominal GDP. Under central planning, Uzbekistan multiplied its nominal GDP 19 times, maintaining 8.3% annual growth. But overlaying GDP per capita reveals the flaw. National wealth grew, but individual income flatlined. By 2016, it was just $2,124. The command economy simply couldn't absorb the country's demographic boom. 500,000 young workers entered the labor market every single year. The state couldn't provide enough jobs, forcing hundreds of thousands of citizens to seek work abroad. Then, in 2014, global commodity prices crashed. The export revenue funding the state budget dropped sharply, and remittances from citizens working overseas dried up. By 2016, the post-Soviet economic model was exhausted. With fiscal buffers gone, pivoting toward the private sector became a matter of national survival. The turning point began with a sudden transfer of power. In 2016, the death of longtime ruler Islam Karimov ended a quarter-century of isolation. The incoming administration, led by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, took an unusual step. They publicly admitted that the state-controlled apparatus was failing. In 2017, the government enacted the development strategy. This official roadmap was designed to dismantle price controls, reduce state ownership, and pursue foreign private investment. The administration realized that the only way to monetize their raw natural wealth and employ their massive youth population was to let private enterprise operate freely. The government moved fast. They cut average customs tariffs and abandoned rigid currency controls, moving to a floating exchange rate so domestic businesses could finally interact with global trade networks. This dashboard highlights aggressive tax cuts to incentivize domestic business. Property taxes were slashed to 2%, and small business turnover taxes were reduced. To attract outside capital, barrier-to-entry taxes like capital duties and acquisitions taxes were dropped to zero. They also designated 4 new free economic zones in historic regions like Samarkand and Bukhara. The goal was to build manufacturing and tech hubs, diversifying the economy away from heavy reliance on gold and cotton. International observers reacted immediately. The World Bank named Uzbekistan a top global improver, moving the country from 164th up to 76th in its ease of doing business rankings. In just 2 years, the state passed enough legislative reform to effectively rewrite its economic structure and signal to global markets that it was open for business. Writing new laws is one thing, but dismantling a 25-year-old state bureaucracy in practice is a slow and difficult process. Systemic bribery is a major ongoing hurdle. On Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, Uzbekistan still ranks a dismal 157th out of 180 countries. Furthermore, while top-level investment is rising, building out a private sector capable of providing secure, well-paying jobs for millions of citizens will take years to fully materialize. The success of the entire development strategy relies entirely on the government's ability to enforce these reforms transparently, resisting the urge to fall back on command economy habits when growth slows down. This chart highlights the structural advantage protecting them during this transition. Uzbekistan holds massive foreign exchange reserves against very low foreign debt, providing a heavy financial cushion against global market shocks. They are essentially running a modern blueprint for post-Soviet development. They are undertaking the difficult transition to an open market today, utilizing fiscal tools and buffers that other post-Soviet states lacked during the 1990s. Activating the consumer market and labor force of Central Asia's most populous nation reorganizes trade and logistics networks across the continent. By pairing deep natural resources with open market mechanics, Uzbekistan is cementing its position as the new economic anchor of Central Asia.